Hello, this is Tommy Ryken, and I am doing my empathy assignment with my dad. Introduce yourself.
My name is Patrick Ryken. I am Thomas Ryken's father.
All right, and then our topic of discussion today will be who is the greatest basketball player of all time, specifically in the NBA. And then I will be taking the side of LeBron is the GOAT, and you will be taking the side of
Michael Jordan is the GOAT.
All right. I decided this topic of discussion because we both enjoy watching sports and we also have grown up in different generations. Your generation was Jordan, mostly Jordan in the NBA is kind of the star player, and then mine has been more of LeBron. So we both have differing opinions because we grew up with different eras. So I thought it would be an interesting topic of discussion. All right, here we go. So first, I'm going to explain why I am right in my decision as LeBron is the GOAT and my opponent is wrong. For starters, LeBron entered the league as just a teenager. He was 18 years old with all the pressure in the world to be the best right away because Jordan had played before him, and he has shown that he has stepped up to the plate and has been one of the best players of all time, if not the greatest in my opinion. He has won more playoff series and has been to more NBA finals than Jordan, playing in an era with more teams because of expansion and more competition with the amount of skill the league has seen. Jordan never played against teams like the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry, Clay, Draymond, and Kevin Durant, and never played against the Spurs like Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker. LeBron's a better all-around player. He is a better passer and rebounder because he's a forward. He's also 6'9" and 280 pounds, which makes him a more physically dominant NBA player. And lastly, which is the main point, LeBron has been more clutch in his career. He also is the only player in NBA history to come back down 3-1 in the finals in the NBA championship. Jordan has never done it. No player's ever done it. LeBron's the only one who has. All right. Now would you like to rebuttal that and say why you are right and I am wrong?
I would love to say why I am right. Michael Jordan is, in my opinion, the GOAT, the greatest of all time in the NBA basketball history. He has won more NBA titles with the Chicago Bulls, 6 altogether, more than LeBron James did with 3 different teams. Michael Jordan has more scoring titles, a higher scoring average career, more all the defensive team honors. So he has been the most dominant two-way player, the term being offensive and defensive player. He played in the era where there was not super teams, quote unquote, where top level players would combine as free agents into one team. Basically, team players stayed with the team they were drafted. There was free agency, but for the most part, the superstars made the most money staying with the team they were drafted by. So there was more spread competition among the elite players in Michael Jordan's era. So he retired. Yes, he took a break from basketball at the peak of his dominance of the game, 3 straight NBA finals. He didn't have the challenge within the game. He was so dominant within the game and his interest to pursue another challenge. He went to baseball, professional baseball, for 2 years, then returned to basketball to win 3 additional titles as soon as he returned for his first 3 full seasons back. He would also, as a competitor, often play golf, 18 holes, 36 holes sometimes, before competing that night in basketball, just because he is such a competitor and would see the challenge he faced on a nightly basis. Being so dominant was not always a challenge for him. He is much better, 6-0 record in the finals. LeBron, though he's made it more times, and obviously the super team era affected that, where he was able to shift to play with multiple Hall of Fame caliber players. LeBron is 4-10 in those finals. So the argument of clutch might not be backed up by the results of those finals. And that really, when it mattered most, Jordan was going to find a way to have his team win. And winning was the number one goal for Michael Jordan, more than any individual title. He really was about winning, and he did it at a higher percentage than anyone, well, as far as anyone in this argument, which would be LeBron James.
All right. I mean, he did shy away from the pressure a little bit. He did retire in the middle, where LeBron is continuing.
There was no pressure. There was no argument of who was the greatest. He had never lost in a finals.
All right. The next topic, or not topic, but the next point we are going to discuss is both of our positions are correct, and then also both are wrong. So neither one truly is correct over the other. So LeBron and Jordan are obviously two of the best basketball players ever. And it's really hard to compare because they've also played in different eras. Jordan playing mostly in the 80s and 90s, while LeBron has played in the 2000s and 2010s. Two very different games. LeBron's era has focused a lot more on shooting and three-pointers, where Jordan's really wasn't. So there's a huge difference on how players scored and how players defended. And it's hard for either side to kind of argue that they're right or wrong because of it. And also they played different positions. LeBron was a forward, Jordan was a guard. And it's harder to compare players at different positions than it is to compare two centers or 2 point guards. And then neither one of these guys, you can argue that neither one are even the GOAT, because there's other ways you can look at it. A player like Bill Russell has 13 championships, most by a long margin forever. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar not only has 9 championships, including his collegiate days, but also he is the leading scorer of all time. So there's more arguments to be made than just these two. Anything you want to add?
I would agree as far as when you look at the position difference, and that, to say one player at one position is the greatest in a team game with multiple positions and multiple roles, and how it's really taking away from the eras where there was center dominant or isolation dominant, post dominant play, because at that time, that center position carried the brunt of the offensive responsibility, and players like Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, even Hakeem Olajuwon, some of these all-time great centers, they took the shots that the LeBron James would take now and Michael Jordan would take in the 90s, because their team had them dominate with the ball, and the era was post-play, there was less three-point shooting. So it was a different type of game that they dominated in that era.
Mm-hmm. You're right on that one. All right, and then the last kind of sub point is it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. And it kind of doesn't matter because at the end of the day, these are basketball players, and the whole goal of the league is to, make money. It's an entertainment league. And not only that, but we're arguing about two individuals on who's greater, but they play a team sport. It'd be easier to argue between two tennis players on who's the greatest, but it's harder to argue two different players from different eras on two different teams and who's better. So even if we could see Jordan face a LeBron James and match up one-on-one, it still wouldn't show us who had the better career and who was the overall better player, I think.
It would just show that Michael Jordan could beat him one-on-one. And so the team sport concept is really, I think, where both players probably would support. I mean, they have definitely aspirations to be considered, Hall of Famers and individually one of the great players of all time, but their achievements were really based on within a team organization within the objective of winning a championship, being the number one team in the world, being the number one team in the NBA. The individual accolades were really in the concept or in the form of playing within a team. It's 5-on-5 basketball. One player cannot win the NBA title. So, individual achievement is still with separate from really the overall objective of the sport, which is, it's a team sport and it's outscoring a team. An individual player can get 80 points in a game and lose.
Yeah, you're right. Well, you see how LeBron carried his team to the 2007 championship, though. That was almost an individual effort.
But there's been a number of teams through the years where you've had an individual player that's been so strong that he could carry a lesser collective team or supporting players, but ultimately, they would face a better team in the finals or a better team in a playoff situation.
That's true.
There's, Michael Jordan, really, the argument is, he needed other Hall of Fame caliber players to win, and so has LeBron in his team, in his championships. So, it's really, it's looking at the opinions you have of an individual and kind of seeing that play, the perspective of what type of player you like and what you are more drawn to, what type of basketball, and what time of your life you were a fan and what basketball. I got to watch Jordan play live and on TV almost every week growing up. You've seen LeBron from high school film to the NBA.
Yeah.
So, as far as our perspectives are going to be different. We've seen more of one player versus another.
Yeah, and I think to kind of affirm that every perspective we've brought to the table is correct in their own certain way is because, this is an opinion-based debate. Everyone has their own opinion and everyone's going to feel a certain way about different players. So, you can think someone's right or wrong in their beliefs, but at the end of the day, we can say that it's based in fact, but we're all fans of the league anyway, so we're cheering for who we want to root for.
The facts are statistics, but the title of GOAT, greatest of all time, doesn't have statistics to measure it.
No.
It really is subjective view, and that's why you could debate it. And it's a great topic to debate in all different sports.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball is, and the arguably two greatest players of all time are our, source of our debate. But reality is that, it's opinion that really only the fact can be is who was the greatest scorer in this season or who was the greatest scorer collectively for their career. Because it's a measure, it's an objective stat that you can really look at. But the GOAT title is truly, it's subjective. There's no stats that can argue one clearly against another.
Yeah. All right. Now to kind of wrap up everything, the first question I'm going to answer is, are you able to understand the other side of the argument? And I think after us conversing about the whole GOAT debate, I think that I can understand how great of a player Jordan was. And because I understand that your opinion based on where you grew up, I know that where your beliefs are coming from, instead of just me saying, oh, you're wrong because I believe a certain thing. Because I know that we both grew up differently. We both grew up watching different styles of the NBA, so we can feel a certain way, but we both can come together. I think you can say this as well. It's like to see the greatness in both players, either way.
I would agree with that. And, just because I believe something doesn't mean that you couldn't have a different opinion. We can come together and realize that we both have, as far as strong points and different views.
Yeah. And then, was the process difficult? It really wasn't, because I like talking about sports, and I think having sports debates is something fun to have with friends and even family members. I think that having debates like this where you're comparing two players is fun because there is no distinct answer always, and there really never is on like which player is better or even which team is better sometimes when you're talking about different eras. So it's fun to kind of imagine what it would be like if you could see both of those players play and be in like different situations and say, okay, who truly would have been the GOAT or the greatest of all time. And I think what I learned from this whole assignment is that, you know, we can always learn a thing or two from people that we have arguments with and that we can debate with, and that we shouldn't, you know, kind of like close them off and say, you know, their opinion doesn't matter, or they just don't understand what I'm thinking. Because the more you learn from their side, the more that you can help make your argument stronger, or even, you know, change your opinion. We shouldn't be like solely thinking about one thing and not being able to grow and develop into the ways we think about different things.
And that's where sometimes sports debates can get heated, is because we do have at times a strong emotional tie to our favorite team or our favorite player. Mm-hmm. And so it can skew us a little bit and make it harder to see someone's opinion or see their perspective, because we are so committed to our belief of what we see and what we feel about our favorite team or player that we have a challenge to really listen to someone else and understand why they feel the way they feel and what their opinion is. And that's where sometimes those debates can get heated, when you can kind of step away and listen to someone and appreciate their view and their perspective. Then there's a mutual respect, and you can kind of realize that you can kind of come to understanding that there's right in both of our opinions.
Yeah. So can we both agree that Jordan and LeBron are two of the best of all time? I think we can come to that. Yeah.
I can reasonably agree with you, and I would definitely support that feeling that the two players, Michael Jordan and LeBron James, are in the top of the all-time greats of the NBA basketball and all of basketball history.
Wow. Well, there you have it. All right. All right. Thank you for watching our empathy assignment. We had fun doing it. All right. Peace.